I think it's finally demo time. So let's try a couple of things. That XOR me script I talked about was what we were going to use to encrypt shellcode, right? So remember, we had, this thing that basically is a shellcode encryptor using the XOR function, using NumPy. And if we use MSF Venom with a payload, and we use like calc.exe again, and we put it out in a raw format, and then we pipe it just to xorme.py. Okay. Whoops, permission denied. Chmod 755, xorme.py. Right. See, this is what happens when you copy a Python script from Windows to Linux. Set ff equals Unix. All right. I know. All right, here we go. All right. And this thing is going to hopefully, well, it will XOR the output of the MSF Venom command and give us this raw buffer that is now encrypted, right? All right. All right. And that didn't work at all. All right. So it's not my day, obviously. Yes. Forgot about that part. Okay. Let's try this again. I will correct these things but in the repo before I give it to you because I'm a nice guy. Or maybe I'll leave it as an exercise for you to fix, right? All right, so there's our XORed shellcode now. All right, so let's grab that XORed shellcode and let's go back to the Windows side, all right? And let's edit our shellcode.py, and we're just going to paste the new shellcode, which is encrypted, into the script here, right? All right, so now it's just called buff, all right? And because we know that we're running a 64-bit, now down here in the init routine in the script, we can change this assignment of the shellcode variable to use the XOR and decrypt it. And I think the encryption key was just encrypt me. Okay, so we're decrypting it at runtime here. Okay, let me check the XOR me script again to see if it was really encrypt me. Yes, it is. Defaults to encrypt me. All right, so let me show you that again. All right. So now we are actually decrypting self.buff, which is a different shellcode in there with the XOR function before we actually call the execution method, right? So now if all things are equal, we should be able to run our shellcode script and we should still get a calculator. Yay! Live demos. It's amazing. It actually worked, right? No, it's not amazing. I've done this before. I actually kind of write malware for a living these days. We can do process injection as well. All right. With method 1, this is kind of fun. Boom. Process injection. And where did our process go? Oh, process injection seemed to fail. Let's try that again. Okay. Don't know why the process injection didn't fail. The calculators are just sitting over here. There we go. Okay, so we won. So now we have both process injection and in same process execution of shellcode with Python, and it all works. And you also have an encryption option as well. And I'll do a slight correction of the XOR script before we finish out. So that's it. I am ending the webcast at this point. Thank you very much. Find me on the Twitters if that's still a thing, or God forbid, Mastodon. I am Yoda at ioc.exchange. I finally got the Yoda handle. Yes. And there's a tiny repo up there with this demo code for you guys to download and take a look at, which I fully expect that you will. See if you can fix that XOR problem before I can, because you're probably going to download it faster than it can take me to get off this webcast and actually edit that script and fix it.
All right.
That's
Joff,
it.
Finished with like 10 seconds to spare.
Wow, that's that is like timing right there.
So just want to let you know that Mike and Deb are also here in the co-working space, and they started doing the cyber range, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I know, I've heard of Python. Is that shellcode? So
clues.
Yes.
What are we going to do? I guess questions.
What we're going to do is we're going to officially end the webcast, and we're going to stick around for some rapid fire questions because it's 2:00, and I know that some of you need to either go to lunch, or you just got back from lunch, or this was your lunch break, or you need to go to a call. So if you need to go. We will do some rapid fire question and answers here. And then after that, we're going to talk about Joff's class. You don't need to stick around for that unless you care about Joff's class. We don't like to hold you hostage here on the webcast in order for us to try to sell you something, because that doesn't feel right. All right. So Joff, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the questions here. You can take a look at Discord, and I will take a look here in the questions. The first one I see is, does this process work well for privilege escalation?
Well, that's an interesting question. So if somebody makes a mistake in a Windows application and the remote process you target has let's just say, more privileged security token, and you can also access it, then there is a potential for escalation. But it's not deliberately written to look for that opportunity.
All right. Next one is recommendations for IT folks guarding against these attacks.
So guarding against these attacks. First of all, if you have the Microsoft Store enabled on your endpoints, then disable it. Because as a user, if you allow your regular users to go ahead and download Python, that's probably a nice way to get execution pretty quickly. Anyway. Other than that, most, as I mentioned throughout the presentation, most good EDRs are probably going to detect these techniques. Your standard consumer-grade antivirus stuff is probably not going to detect it.
Did this come out of a in-the-field need? How many Windows servers out there have Python installed?
So the answer to that question is it actually was a combination need. One was an in-the-field need that happened after I wrote some of these scripts. The initial impetus for writing the scripts was part of the course teaching materials in my Enterprise Attacker Emulation and C2 Implant course. But more than one of my testers has come to me and said, I found a Python interpreter, help me out. And I have literally given them the script I just gave you, and they have got code execution.
How am I supposed to get my apps if I don't have access to Microsoft? I don't know if that's a question.
Yeah. Talk to your organizational security policy person, right?
In Python 2, I'm able to send shellcode easily. Is there a resource you can help point me to understand how to do this in Python 3? And the person added, I just joined.
Go back and watch the video. Is my first advice. Because if you just joined, you just missed the webcast. I'm sorry. But in terms of Python 2 to 3, start learning to code in Python 3. Honestly, come to my class. That's like you just handed me a golden opportunity to promote the class. You learn Python 3. You really need to. Python 2 is considered end of life and deprecated as of 2020.
Is it possible to use more advanced techniques such as indirect syscalls through Python? Quick Googling doesn't yield anything.
Yeah, turns out Google doesn't know everything. I know a lot of us really do lean on Google for good part of our jobs a lot, and I do to point me in the right direction. But you have to really do the hard work here to actually implement more advanced techniques such as indirect syscalls. Well, okay, Razzle, the answer is you absolutely could do it, but you would have to get busy, and I would use SysWhispers 3 as the source of the initial code to base it off of, and then you would have to generate stub code for the NTDLL calls to implement those syscalls directly, and probably recompile that C library such that the functions were available from Python. It's going to take some work, in other words, right?
I would like to thank Mario for the help that you gave inside the questions and answers, and Matt as well. If I missed someone else, sorry. But we had 2 people in there helping along with the rest of the team. And so I appreciate you helping your fellow attendees through the Zoom interface. All right, Joff, that looks like it. I'll see if there's any questions that come in. I want to talk to you about the class that you have coming up. So here's the deal. If you don't want to hear about Joff's intro to Python class, please leave. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to log off. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you joining us at the beginning of 2023. We hope you join us every single Thursday for the rest of the year. We do this every single week. And so I have no idea what the topic is next week. Or maybe I do. It's active countermeasures. It's doing one on a new tool that they developed. And so we'll talk about that. So you have about 10 seconds left to go if you want to leave. Joff, do you have any final thoughts for the people who are about to leave?
Yeah, final thoughts. Look, this is just one way to get some code execution going. It's a way using a Python interpreter. If you're a pen tester out there, I'm going to tell you, having more diverse tools and more diverse ways of gaining execution, because initial access is important in your tool belt, the better pen tester you're going to be, right? So, having techniques like this as well as others, it just means that you've got a little bit more tools in your tool belt, and I think that's a good thing to have.
So thanks for joining us for this Black Hills Information Security webcast. If you ever need a red team threat hunt, pen test, or incident response or anything like that, you know where to find us. All right. And ActiveSOC. Okay. So for the 500 of you that are sticking around, Joff, I'm going to ask you some questions about your class. If people here have questions about your class, we'll probably spend about 5 to 7 minutes talking about the class that you have. We don't like holding you hostage, like I said. But for those of you that are sticking around, if you have questions about Joff's intro to Python class, feel free to ask them inside Zoom or anywhere, Discord or so. All right. So Joff, my first question for you is, why did you want to write this in the first place?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to teach. First of all, I'm kind of developer driven, right? My InfoSec career has been about techniques for sure on the offensive side, but it's really been more about what can we build to make things better. And I've always had this real mathematical bent and developer kind of brain on me, and I think Python itself offers the programmer that maybe is not quite as skilled or not ready to take on a really complex language, a really intuitive way to get into programming, and maybe not as heavy a lift as would be learning something like C# or Golang, right? It's a very intuitive language, and the more, frankly, from my perspective, the more we can automate in the penetration testing field, the more effective we can be in our careers. And I think Python is a huge ingredient to that. But it's not just penetration testing. I mean, same thing goes for forensics, for any defensive activities, incident response. The more you can automate, the better off, and the more efficiently you're going to be able to work. And I think Python is like a natural, intuitive and easy language to learn that facilitates that really well.
Now, Joff, I've gotten to know you for, I don't know, like 7 years or so. Yeah, I knew you from a previous organization, and I know you have this desire to teach people the knowledge that you have. Why do you have that? Where did it come from?
That's a really pointed question, and difficult to answer. In my career, I've always tried to be a generalist and know as much as I can about a lot of things. And I think personally, I've always felt a great amount of joy in discussing with people and sharing the things that I've learned along the way. It's almost like, it's not charity, but it's like when you give, you get so much more back. And so it's such a great exchange to have. And then combined with that, I grew up as a musician and a performer as well. And I really get a great kick out of public presentation and being able to take difficult technical topics and make them consumable for people who are at almost any level in their career. So it's just a talent of mine that and it's just a big passion of mine to actually be able to leverage that combination of skills to bring that to bear.
You're a great teacher too. Yeah, I've gotten a chance to see you in the classroom. I've got a chance to be on lots of webcasts. You have this very natural way of just sharing your knowledge in a way that other people can consume. So I appreciate it. I know a lot of other people appreciate it. So Joff, thanks for sharing your knowledge.
Absolutely.
The next question is, how intro is the Python class?
So that's a very good question. And in fact, from the overview requirements sheet that I put together, the class is, first of all, it's a 16-hour. So we're going to do a 4-day by 4-hour format, which is a very common format for Antisyphon to do. And what I tried to do is take it from a beginner level and really start from the beginning. I called it Introduction to Python. I did not even put an offensive or defensive or InfoSec kind of spin on it. I want it to be generally appealing to people that want to learn Python. And so, we start out with talking about Python releases, talking about the interpreter itself, the shell, the script structure, the keywords, the variables, the assignments, the objects, all the different representations of data. We really do move through Python from an introductory level. So if you've had, I think from a prerequisite perspective, if you've had basic scripting experience, let's say you've played around with a little bit of batch scripting or bash scripting maybe, or God forbid, maybe Perl scripting or something like that. If you're in that world where you've dabbled a little bit to get some automation, then you would gain a lot out of this class, because I'm not going to dive in at the advanced level. I'm going to start from the ground up. Now, when we get towards the end of the class, it's going to ramp pretty quickly. I do give it a bit of an offensive spin on the last day with a module I'm calling Pen Testing Buffet, which is just to apply some of the concepts. But that's the very last part of the class. It's not the first part. And the other really nice thing is we've put together a capture the flag to go along with the class that will be hosted on the MetaCTF platform, which is the same platform that runs the CyberRange. And it may be that some of these Python questions or offshoots of them even end up in the CyberRange as well. So there's a nice overlap there to go along with that.
Someone said, how is this class going to be different from other intro to Python classes?
I think you're going to find a fair amount of overlap. I mean, if you look online at some of the intro classes, they're going to have a similar kind of flow to them. They'll talk about the basics, the essentials. I think what you're getting here is not only the fundamentals of Python, you're getting me, and you just got to experience what you can actually do with Python in an offensive context in information security, and the value add is the now 7-8 years of scripting and programming in Python that I bring to the table.
Last question: will this intro also help to learn other language and syntax?
I'm not going to specifically address other languages. I'm going to stay focused on Python in terms of general scripting. Context and the idea of machine architecture and functional programming. Yes, there is a crossover there, because functional programming is a concept that applies to every single programming language that's out there on the planet.
One last one. Is there going to be an on-demand version of this class if people can't take it live?
I am hoping we'll be able to put an on-demand version of the class together once we get through the initial bumps. With any class that you launch, there's going to be a bit of a rough patch as you achieve, flight velocity. But once we get through a few of the bumps and get the first edits done, I do anticipate putting an online class together. I should also mention there will be a virtual machine that goes along with this class that I will supply to help with students with labs. And as I'm teaching it, that virtual machine actually has a command and control channel that talks back to me so that I can interact with you and your machine if I need to as part of the teaching and learning experience.
Joff, anything left before we wrap up?
Nope. I hope to see you attend my Python class if possible. We're going to be launching at, I forgot, what's it called? The Summit?
The Hackdown Summit.
Hackdown Summit, which if I look it up on a browser, I can probably find
March
out.
1st. I dropped the link inside of the chat. And so that's a free virtual event that we're putting together. We're bringing speakers together. We have 2 or 3 tracks, I think. We have 30-minute talks. So that's going to be a free event where Antisyphon brings all these people together to talk about offensive security. So join us for that. I dropped the link in there. So once again, you can register absolutely for free for that event. And it's going to be like this, but like all day with a whole lot of different speakers. And so it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, Joff. Thank you so much for helping us kick off the very beginning of our 2023. And we'll see you soon next time. All right, Ryan, kill it with fire.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody.
Ryan.